John, do we need to start our local recordings here?
Oh, yeah. So, guys, why don't you start up your local recordings?
Yep.
Do you want to clap or anything, John?
Hold on.
Yeah, I'll do like the 3, 2, 1 record, and then we'll do some claps. Is that what you guys do? Do you guys clap, or do you just go off Zencastr?
To be honest, we've in recent months we've relied on Zencastr. But it is a bit of a comfort blanket.
That's just the case with Jeff and myself. We've just done Zencastr, but anytime we have guests, almost every time we have guests, it seems like Zencastr fools us. Yeah, it messes about. So anytime we have guests, so we always do the local recordings.
Sorry, we did it, guys, right? And Dave, we do need to do this. It's about we did it, right? And something happened Dave's end, and he lost his recording. So Dave sat in his bedroom and was listening to me talking, trying to fill in what he'd said with like false laughs and everything. And in the end, we lost the whole record. Dave rang me, went, Chris, I can't fucking do it. We're going to have to record again. And we were like, fuck me.
Honestly, I tried it for about, I was going at it for about 30 to 40 minutes.
That's amazing.
But then, with no prompting at all, Chris just starts absolutely pissing himself. And I'm like, I've got nothing. I've got no jokes. Yeah. I have no idea what I said. Because it was a proper like belly laugh, so it wasn't just like a little polite kind of, oh yeah, good one. And I was like, I've got nothing. And then I was getting quite pissed off. By the time I rang you up, Chris, I was like, I've fucking got no jokes. I've got nothing. We've got to fucking do it again.
I would have loved to see that. You're just trying to fill in all the gaps.
Yeah. On my own, like in my fucking house, like just fucking, yeah. So after that, I should have probably insisted on the local recordings, but luckily that was the only time Zencastr let us down. But
okay,
I've got GarageBand ready to go.
We'll go locally. Then.
Yeah, okay. Do you want me to count down the recording locally?
Do a clap, it'll make it easier for editing, won't it?
Okay, we'll do it twice. Just for posterity.
Right. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. It always sounds so fucked up.
Completely out of sync.
It always sounds out of sync. I love it.
Because there's a delay. It always sounds out of sync.
All right, one more time, Jeff.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Just kidding.
At this point, someone should say, I'm too old for this shit.
I'm too old for this shit. You're too old for this bike confiscating shit.
Hey, we've not started Predator 2.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. There's the connection. I say that every time, too. Danny Glover. Welcome to Predator Minute, the podcast that breaks down the 1987 action sci-fi classic Predator 1 minute at a time. I'm John Zabriskie.
And I'm Jeff Glover.
And before we dive into this week's minute 89, we have a couple of special guests from, well, a lot of different podcasts, but I mostly know them from Comics in Motion, and we'll dive into all sorts of podcasts where you can find them. But we have on the show Dave Horrocks and Chris Phelps.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks so much for having us on.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I'm just so excited. I was looking back at our Twitter conversation, Dave and Chris, and we started talking about a year ago about you being on the podcast.
Wow, is it that long ago? I honestly can't remember. So, crikey.
It just took a global pandemic for us to all get together.
But I tell you what, guys, you've brought us in at a brilliant moment. I mean, every single minute has been packed full of, action and whatever. But now it's crunch time, isn't it? So we're on minute 89, and I can't wait to get into this with you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a good one. We'll get into all the details, but the confrontation really begins here in earnest.
Yeah, but before we begin discussing the minute, guys, I'd love to hear any background you have on your history with Predator.
Do you want to go first, Chris?
Yeah, I'll go first. I've said it a few times on our show, guys, that I was literally horse-whipped to watch Arnie movies because my cousin got into bodybuilding. He was about 4 years older than me, then forced me into sort of going to the gym when I was like mid-90s. I was like 15, 16. But the Arnie movies, he had like a collection of them all on VHS towards the end of like the late 80s, early 90s. And I remember having to sit there and watch like Terminator, Running Man, which is literally up there as one of my top 3 Arnie movies, Running Man, Raw Deal, Red Heat, stuff like that. And then Predator. No, but Predator wasn't always one of my go-to Arnie films. It was always like Terminator, Running Man, things like that. But iconic moments in it is, and my cousin always used to do the fucking Dutch, and I know it's not called Apollo Creed, but Carl Weathers, the one that gets played over and over, the handshake thing with the muscles.
Oh, you mean Dylan?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Dylan,
Dylan.
yeah, you son of a bitch. Yeah, that's what it is. But, that bit,
you put in too many pencils.
Yeah, that one, and I think it's like synonymous. Arnie's just synonymous with me, like for his movies. I just love him. He's a walking cliche, but he's just the best. He is just the best. So I have nothing but good things to say about Mr. Schwarzenegger.
I think for me, my first action hero, I think, was Stallone. And, a couple of my uncles. So I grew up pretty much, I was born in the 70s, but, pretty much grew up in the 80s. And a few of my uncles did boxing. So it was a staple to watch all the Rocky movies. So he was the first action hero I remember. But I remember that 82 Conan, Conan the Barbarian. And this guy was just like a specimen that I'd just never seen before. I mean, this was a few years, I think, even before He-Man came out. But Arnie was that living, breathing, just bag of muscles. And so I was just sort of fascinated by him from there. But he was always kind of playing that role where he didn't really say much, for good reason, especially in that early Conan where he's kind of mostly going like, rather than actually speaking any dialogue, but, and then you saw him through Terminator and everything. And the thing that was fascinating about, actually Commando, absolutely love Commando, the old John Matrix, but Predator, it seemed less cartoony, less kind of actiony. It seemed really kind of visceral and the stakes were really high, especially when you go into the early part of the movie and they're discovering the guys, they're all strung up, skinned alive and what have you. And I just remember, watching this for the first time, and I was thinking, holy shit, this is different gravy. This is not like this. The stakes are high for this one, and I just absolutely loved it. And even looking back at it now, I think the special effects, okay, some of them, when Predator's kind of doing a bit of first aid on himself, it doesn't hold up too well with the old rubber kind of gloves kind of thing, but a lot of it stands up really well. And so, even though we honestly with Chris and I, we go back and we watch a lot of old movies, and a lot of them do not stand up at all compared to how we remember them. But you know what? Predator really does, and it has to be up there. It's at least in my top 10 of movies, and that's been, vague. I think it would probably be higher. It'd probably be in my top 5. But just absolutely love it, guys.
Do you remember how old you were when you first saw Predator? It's something John and I talk about is people our age oftentimes see, or we saw R-rated movies probably younger than we were supposed to, whether it was VHS or on cable. Do you guys remember how old you were when you first saw Predator? Did it kind of leave an imprint?
I think I was about 12, about 1990, maybe 89, 90. I'm born 78, so it was around that time. And there was no restrictions in my family watching an R-rated, or in the UK they call it an 18, age 18 or over. My dad actually bought me Lethal Weapon around about 1988 when I was fucking about I was nearly 10 years old, because he wanted it and we didn't have a lot of money. So he was like, I tell you what, I'm going to buy you this. And Beverly Hills Cop 1 as well. That was a 15. And I got both of them for my 10th birthday, whether I liked it or not. Coincidentally, I love them because I've watched them hundreds and hundreds of times. They're in my top 10 without a doubt. But so there was no restrictions in my family at all. My dad would just make us watch any sort of violence like that. So there was no worry going to I watched it at my grandparents' house. There was no worry going there and someone putting an 18 on. We just sit there and watch it. Unless obviously there was sex scenes and everybody would grab a cushion and put it on your crotch, or you'd have to sort of cut the window or something. As my grandparents were sat there. I never forget in Pulp Fiction when Zed was doing his thing with Bruce Willis and what's he called?
Marcel Wallace.
Marcel Wallace. And my nan and granddad were there, and my granddad went, right, it's going off. And I had to watch it the next morning on my own because it was like, not that bit. I didn't rewind that bit, by the way. I just mean I had to watch the film again because it was like, holy shit, literally. Oh no, what we got myself into. And they won't go any further. So yeah, other than that, we were fine. We could watch anything.
You're absolutely right, guys, though. I mean, us Gen Xers, we were exposed to so much shit that we should not have seen at all. You know, and even so ignoring the fact that the PG... so in the UK, we had a PG rating. But then there was a PG-13 kind of... Well, actually, it was a 12, wasn't it? Yeah. And I think it was Gremlins that changed the game because they didn't know, you know, is it an R rating or is it, you know, a PG? And so that's when they created this whole PG-13 thing. But even ignoring
was it when they put the gremlin in the microwave and blew that shit up?
And the blender.
And the blender. Yeah.
Now, guys, when we reviewed this for the VHS Strikes Back, I still maintain the Gremlins were just kind of chill. They were just having a good time. I think it was all these vicious, bloody humans that were like the antagonizers, the antagonists in it all. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think I do think we've all, as Gen Xers, we've watched a bunch of shit that we really shouldn't have watched.
But it made us the nerds we are today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it does. But I mean, I still blame fucking Steven Spielberg for me not being able to enter the sea through watching Jaws. I mean, how the fuck Jaws was possibly deemed a PG, and fucking let's not even get into Poltergeist. It's fucking nonsense. But yeah, even when the ratings were correct, I think our kind of parents just were a bit more liberal, weren't they? You know, in terms of it's only a movie, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, my parents are pretty loose, and we had HBO in my house, and I would stay up late at night and just watch whatever was on HBO late at night, which was always something rated R. And
is that a bit of an American Pie story coming there? Is it?
I won't bore you all with the details, but
involved a lot of socks.
There's a lot of movies out there with Emmanuel in the title.
Yeah, I've seen all of them, and the Red Shoe Diaries.
We've all been
Red Shoe Diaries.
David Duchovny was in that.
In Diana Jones.
Hey, I'm the oldest of 9 kids. It was a fucking outfall to get any free time. I'm telling you.
You must have been like the Flash, Chris.
I think it was. It's carried me on through the rest of my life, to be honest. That's what Stan says, the Flash, my wife.
Oh, dear.
All right. Well, John, do you want to get us into this proper?
Sure, yeah. And after we talk the first part, guys, I'll probably give another question about favorite lines from the movie, so have that in the back of your head.
Yep.
But yeah, so we're talking minute 89 this week on Predator Minute. Minute 89 opens with the camouflage Predator. Oh, actually, I'm doing this backwards. I'm sorry. I usually do the 89. So 89, I'm going to recap all that. We're talking minute 89 of Predator this week. Minute 89, you could call the John Mackey of Mac. The Willie Davis, the Iron Mike Ditka, the Gino Marchetti, the Dave Robinson, the Steve Smith, the Doug Baldwin, the Guido Marilung. Then I threw a few extra notes about what the significance of 89 was, and I think we all have to agree that the most important number 89 was the number of units of each color in the board game Blockus or Blockus.
Wow. I preferred your note here that 89 is a Fibonacci number.
Yeah, you're the mathematician.
I got into that. Yeah.
You know what, guys? I have to say, I saw your notes before the show, and I thought, you know what, Chris has fucking set me up here because
damn right, I can see it right now.
1989 has haunted me for my entire adult life, right? So in 2020, so Liverpool have just won the league again for the first time in 30 years. But in 1989, a young Dave had an unshakable belief that we were going to win the league, right? So we being Liverpool, and there was no way that Arsenal were going to come to Anfield and win 2-0. That's what they had to do. It was the most dramatic. It was Rocky IV. This was there was nothing. This was, Apollo Creed. He was coming to Russia. He had no chance. And at that time, we were Ivan Drago. And my bloody belief in the whole football system was unshakable. And we fucking lost 2-0 right in the dying seconds. And it has haunted me for my entire life since. So 1989 is a pivotal moment for me because we have been so far ahead. And Chris, being a Man United fan, has revelled in the fact that we've gone so long without the league. We have a brilliant friendship. We fucking love each other. But when it comes to football, we can only sort of skirt over that because it can get a bit fraught with danger. But honestly, 1989 was a switch point for me because I knew what was going to happen with football back then. Post 1989, all changed. And I am the most pessimistic. So even if we are, in the 90th minute, we're 3-0 up, I'm still like, it could all go wrong from here. I've seen it before, and it is all down to that one fucking game and Michael Thomas, and I met him as well. And, I had to have a word with him as well, but he'd obviously, that wasn't the first time he heard it. But yeah, no, I thought, I saw that in your notes, and I'm like, you bastards, Chris has put up to this.
but also the film is a great watch if anybody wants to watch it. It's available on all streaming services. It's just called 89. What Dave has not said there, gentlemen, and for all your listeners, is probably the most famous football team in the world actually took over the reins from Liverpool from about 1992 onwards and decimated everything in front of him. So Dave's boys have just won something this year, finally, in the league, but we will be back
now, Sunshine. How are they doing now?
Are you a Man U fan then, Chris? Is that what I'm picking up?
Yeah, it's Man. But listen, it's not Man U. You can't say Man U. It's Man United. Because in the UK, they call us Man U, most of the opposing teams, because they call us manure, as in manure, horse manure. So you can't say Man U. It's Man United. So, yes, the greatest football team in the world.
All right, well, that's fun to have.
I mean, do you guys follow, soccer at all, or do you have, English teams that you follow?
Oh, man, Seattle is we're just lousy with soccer and soccer fans these days. It really boomed here over the last 10, 15 years where you have the MLS team, the Sounders. They just sell out every single match. They set all these attendance records. You have people in the know, from little kids to adults, about what's going on in the Premier League and the Italy League and other leagues and World Cup. And that's they just live and breathe soccer, which is super cool because I think I think soccer is one of the more fun sports out there where you don't have to be colliding headfirst with people. So I'm a big fan. And the only, I would say, Premier League action I was ever aware of was when Manchester City won the league from Man United.
That was glorious.
What is it? In the Aguero goal, right?
2012, yeah. I remember it well.
I remember it well as well.
However, the year later, let me just get this. I've got to even the score here. So that was a low point in my career, that without a doubt. However, I was in Las Vegas in 2013 for my wonderful wife's 40th, and Manchester City were playing in the FA Cup. Sir Alex Ferguson, our manager, the greatest football manager ever. Sorry, David, I'm talking now. Don't even interrupt with your managers. He was retiring, and I walked down into the sports book in the MGM Grand because I couldn't get this game onto the TV. And there was a lot of Manchester City fans, and just as I walked down there, Wigan scored in extra time, in injury time, and I started jumping up and down and was getting threatened because I was going absolutely mental. And then the next day, we watched Sir Alex's retirement game and speech, and there was about 10 of us all blubbing like little kids because we were crying. I was devastated. So I did have my revenge the year later, but yeah, it was a low point, guys, without a doubt. So can we just get on with the show now? Anyway, I don't want to talk about it.
When he retired, Chris, I was blubbing tears of joy because David Moyes was just coming in. But yeah, I mean, we should move on, shouldn't we? Sorry, guys, we digress.
Can I say one thing, though, guys, as well about the '89 stuff? I've seen the notes. The greatest wrestler ever debuted, Stone Cold Steve Austin, my all-time favourite. One thing you've missed. For you. Yeah, thank you. And one thing you did miss, though, you've put the Fall of Berlin Wall in there. What you haven't said is the greatest showman ever played there to millions of people when the Berlin Wall came down. The Hoff, and I can't believe that's not gone in there. He took Germany down. He divided the east and west side of Germany, that man with his leather pants and Kit at the side of him going, "Are you there, Michael?" You know, it's like, come on, you missed it.
Sing, Michael. Sing, Michael. Oh, yeah. World history right there. Jeff, did you have any 89 or 1989 or 89 AD or BC talk?
Oh, God. No, I'm still stuck on 89 being a Fibonacci number. No.
Reaching for that sock.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. So my 89, thinking about 1989, I was 9 years old. And my dad took me to see Batman.
Of course, Batman.
Yeah. In the theater that year. It was one of the, it was the first kind of real proper, like big superhero movie, that really got hyped up. And I remember just being mesmerized by that movie. So there's my 1989 story. Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah, I definitely remember seeing 89 or Batman 89 in theaters and all the hype that went around it. And you guys have definitely done an episode on it on Comics in Motion. We digress. We can talk a little bit more we can talk a little bit more about Comics in Motion and that network after we talk the minutes. So, guys, let's dive into minute 89 of Predator. It's about time. But minute 89 opens with the camouflage Predator crawling down a tree, and it ends with the Predator firing its laser cannon into the trees near Dutch.
Yes. And so we're going to break this minute up into two parts. The first part will be about 33 seconds long. We carry over from last minute. The Predator continues climbing down the tree where Dutch has had his perch. We cut to Dutch holding his bow and arrow in the tree, cut back to the cloaked Predator investigating the fire below the giant log, then cut back and forth between Dutch preparing his bow and arrow and the Predator on the log. Dutch then fires one of his special explosive arrows toward the Predator, which explodes in the log right in front of him, causing the Predator to scream and then decloak. And we'll end it right there, and we'll talk about the second half in a moment. But this is kind of the first the moment after Dutch's preparation where the Predator and Dutch really see each other, and our confrontation begins in earnest.
This is it. So, guys, if whatever stands out to you, you're the guest, so take it away.
Do you mind if I go first, Chris?
Go for it, Dave.
So I guess, all that has led up to this point, the Predator is just this insurmountable, foe. We all know this all started from Rocky IV, didn't it? So how can you one up, Ivan Drago? Well, you've got to create an alien. But we all know Arnie, and we fucking love him, and he's this fucking man mountain. And when he discovers the whole thing that the Predator can't see him with the mud, and, you get that kind of very first Rambo, so the First Blood, when he sets all his traps and stuff, and he takes down all the coppers and or coppers / all the sheriffs and whatever. You're thinking, right, Predator, you've had your game now. You've taken out all the fodder. You've taken out, even Billy and whoever who looked like he'd put up a bit more of a fight. You are now fucked, Sunshine. You are done because Arnie is fucking coming from you and he's going to take names. And up until the halfway point of this minute, that is what I'm thinking. When I watch this for the first time, I'm thinking, right, that's it now. Arnie's in all of his mud and you've had it, Sunshine. So we'll get into the second half of the minute, I'm sure, but that is what I'm thinking at the halfway point of this. Chris, what do you reckon?
Yeah, it's funny because, watching the whole movie, and obviously there's quite a lot of Arnie quotes within this, and the way it's shot, it's very clever. And I think you're right, it's totally different to what we've seen with Arnie doing his bit. The one thing I would say is, Arnie, he does not fuck about. Once he blows up that branch and sort of gets the Predator shoots back at him. He doesn't even flinch when the zap comes back off the old shoulder cannon. He doesn't even look. He just looks past at the trees to say, "Is that all you fucking got?"
That's the second half of the minute. We can't go there yet, can we? That's the second half. We're supposed to be talking about the first half.
Okay, let's talk about the first half. Just segue that in. I like the actual bow and arrow. The bow and arrow, the actual arrow piece is fucking massive. And the 80s effects are fantastic. When he just slides down, he's got the full mud on and that. I'm still sceptical how he doesn't see him, even though he's got this on because of his heart and everything, and his eyes as well. Yeah. But for some reason, putting mud on him is an absolute cloaking device, which makes no sense considering the whole movie is going off the infrared like body heat stuff. So anyway, I'll live with that. But yeah, this is when Arnie's like, if you want to fucking play, let's play. So, yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. And I like the music as well. The music, the build-up, everything. It's like, oh, shit, he's getting real now, gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of... They're having a little dick measuring contest right here, right? Arnie starts by whipping out his giant arrow that explodes, and he fires it down there. And the Predator's gonna whip his out in a moment. But I do love how they just have this initial standoff where he fires this arrow down there. Is like, fuck you! I'm just gonna blow this shit up right in front of you. And then we'll talk in the second half, the Predator's retaliation. But I was, upon rewatching this, why does the Predator not get more injured by this explosion?
Right.
It happens right in front of him. And like his whole cloaked body kind of turns orangish red. And I don't know if that's just from the fire below. But it seems like this should have really injured him more than it did. He just sort of doubles over for a moment, but then stands up, decloaks, and just starts firing away. So, I don't know.
It basically did fuck all, did it? I mean, essentially, this is the moment where kind of Rocky smacks Ivan Drago, and he thinks he's got a good punch in there, in the first fight, and it's like, that's done nothing, Sunshine.
Oh wow, yeah, I love the Drago parallel here because he did kill Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
Good one there, Dave. Yeah. I have a little theory. I know we haven't said it on the show, but. And I'm not trying to do a plug, but we've just watched Missing in Action 2, and the grenades used in that movie are literally within the proximity of like a metre of Chuck Norris and his crew, and they don't even flinch when they're being set off around him. They just sit there and let these fucking grenades go off. So I've got a theory that Arnie was using the same military stuff left over from the Vietnam War, and that's what he's pulled out the bag to try and have a go at the Predator, because just the proximity. I know he's an alien, but the proximity stuff, it doesn't get go with me. I agree.
Yeah, it's almost like
Oh, go ahead, John.
Oh, I was going to say, it's almost like the Predator himself is in his own superhero movie where he's been unstoppable so far, just killing these guys left and right. Even an explosion that would normally blow up a palapa and all the gorillas inside it, like, it doesn't do him any damage. Like, oh, that's just a scratch. It's time to whip out the big gun.
He almost Luke Skywalker it, did he? In the the Last Jedi, when he does the old shoulder thing with Kylo Ren.
That would be so good. Oh, can you imagine
Force
that? If he just gives a little brush on his shoulder.
Is that all you fucking got? Go on, you fuck now, son. Go on.
Jeff, what were you going to say?
I was just, when we watched these minutes over and over again, I noticed these little details that I maybe wouldn't. But when Arnie shoots the arrow out of his bow, did anyone else feel like it kind of came out a little limp? Like it,
yeah,
it comes out a little slow and looks like it's just
steroids that.
I mean, in previous scenes, he shot that arrow right through the trunk of a tree.
Yes,
and then here it looks like it just sort of like falls off of his bow. I don't know. It's a little.
But to be fair, you did say he was dick measuring. Maybe got a bit of stage fright. Maybe like, holy shit, Predator's is bigger. I fucking can't handle this, and it just fell off and flopped down.
A lot of pressure to perform when you've built these weapons.
I think it's interesting here to me, just from a kind of movie rules perspective, in that he has the explosive arrow and he has like the regular arrows, and this is the only arrow he fires. He's not constantly, Robin Hooding it up and just twanging arrows towards him. It's an interesting take on like a Chekhov's gun or Chekhov's bow and arrow, I think.
Yeah, he's just got that one.
Yeah, leaves you wanting, and like I don't think you ever think about the bow and arrow from here on out. But watching this minute over and over again, I think like he doesn't fire that bow and arrow again throughout the movie.
Right. They give a lot of screen time to him putting that thing together and, and showing us how
using
the
a
arrows
bowflex
work.
in the jungle.
Yeah, and then we get this one limp arrow, and then that's it.
I guess, not to come back to the soccer analogy, but, I remember being coached as a kid that, if you play a great pass, don't just fucking stand there and watch it. You've got to pass it, and then you've got to be on the move straight away. So you're absolutely right. I'd never thought of that before, but he does. It's as if that is his one lucky bow. He's Hawkeye or something, and he's got to, he's thinking, this is it. I'm going to take him out now. And then the Predator seems to have a lot of time, doesn't he, to kind of decloak and everything. Yeah. And then, he should be just firing the shit out of those bows, shouldn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
But in the same respect, it's a movie, Dave, so it's like when 8 guys attack one person and they all stand there one by one going in. You've got a bit of suspense. I suppose if you blew the Predator up and we'd roll the credits, we'd be like, oh, much of a fucking film. Right. But you're right, I agree.
Back to Chuck Norris again, aren't we?
Yeah, I nearly said Chuck Norris. When he said 8 people, I said 8 people, I thought, I can't bring Chuck Baby into it again. He's fucking getting too much airtime as it is, you know what I mean? But I agree. I've just rewatched the Droopy Dick arrow again, and you're absolutely correct. It just flops off completely. Yeah. He's definitely not been to fucking get some Viagra, because it's a terrible. The trajectory of the way it falls off to the way it lands is not the same at all.
I feel like McTiernan, the director, was like, it's fine, good enough. We don't have any more arrows. Okay, next one.
It was a real explosive arrow that actually exploded. What were they thinking?
All right. Well, with all this talk of limp arrows, unless we have other things to add, John, should we jump into the next section here?
Sure. The last thing I'll add, and then I'm actually going to ask the guests a question here in a moment. Sure. But watching this minute over and over again, I feel like the Predator. It's hard for me to envision the Predator after all this movie, after all this has gone down. He's shown himself to be such a crafty hunter and being able to pick people off and escape traps. It's just interesting to me. He approaches what looks like to be a big package, like in the middle of this log, that Dutch ends up firing at. And it's just a curious move for me. It makes me wonder about the motivation. Like, why would the Predator just approach this huge flame, possibly thinking that he has a crafty opponent opposing him?
Yeah, it feels a little too easy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before, well, in the very early days of Comics in Motion, right? So myself and Chris, we'd go through these movies and we get to this point, and you guys are going through minute by minute. So you were going in a much more forensic way than we ever have.
Right.
We're insane.
Sometimes Chris would say to me, "Why has he done that?" And I just have nothing. It's just like because the story dictates that. I mean, you've got this guy. He's an intergalactic hunter. He is at the top of his game, and he basically walks right into the middle of a kill zone. It's like, why would he do that? Well, of course he wouldn't actually do that, other than to give us a great scene. It does set up the second minute quite well. But let's face it, he wouldn't do that. He's too smart for that, you would have thought. And it's just to set up what happens in the second minute, I think.
Well, before we jump into the second part of the minute, I would love to know if you guys have any favorite quotes from this movie.
How long have you got, guys? Because
you can give us a top 2 or 3.
Oh, come on, Chris, go on.
I know. The most obvious one is get to the chopper, but my favourite one is if it bleeds, we can kill it.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
That is just my favourite one in the movie. That's all. That is, Dave. Again, I'm sorry to the Rocky IV, but my favourite bit in Rocky IV is when Rocky actually chins and smacks Ivan Drago in the second round, and he goes, "The Russian's cut," and then he gets in the corner, and Tony's cut man goes, "You see, he's not a machine, he's a man," and he's like, and I love that scene. It gives me chills every time I watch it. I can watch it on YouTube on a loop, but that's what this is like.
Got him hurt bad. Yeah. Now he's worried. You're cutting. You're hurting. You see, he's not a machine. He's a man.
They've struggled against this sort of assassin that they cannot see, and then all of a sudden he bleeds, and it's like, hang on a minute, we fucking can kill it. If it bleeds, we can kill it, and that's where, from being the hunted, they become the hunters.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
And that's like where I think the film completely changes on the head. It's a very much a movie DNA moment, because it's like people are running scared for most of the movie, and then they go, fuck this, I'm going for it. We're reviewing Scream 2 in this week, and I know there's a bit in Scream 2 with Sydney where she goes from being scared to thinking, fuck it, I'm just going to go for the killer. And she changes her whole persona, a bit like Linda Hamilton in Terminator 2. She goes from being an absolute soft ass, Sarah Connor in the first one, to being an absolute war machine and not really that scared, wanting to tackle them head on. So I love stuff like that. I love stuff where the heroes are on the back foot, and all of a sudden there's a moment that switches. So for me, that line is probably my favourite in the whole film.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
And we did Jesse the Body as well, didn't we? He popped up in The Running Man. He had more of a leotard thing going on there, didn't he? The old skin-tight lycra. But that one about, I ain't got time to bleed.
I ain't got time to bleed.
It is such a great line. But, I mean, for me, the best one, and there are so many, like you say, at the end of our credits, we do have that one about get to the chopper, but for me it's got to be, you're one ugly motherfucker.
You're one ugly motherfucker.
Not to spoil a later minute, but it's such a great line. But there are so many. Arnie is basically a question to you guys: has there been a better deliverer of one-liners than Arnie?
Get to the chopper!
No.
Stick around.
No, I don't think so. At least no one that has made it, each one so iconic.
Give this people ear.
How many movie stars or action stars can you think of that have that many lines that people use in their daily life?
Cocaine 'em.
Like the number of times that I say, "I'll be back."
I'll be back.
just to my wife or whatever as she rolls her eyes at me
Get your ass to Moss.
is crazy. Like
Cone of phrase.
he has so many perfect one-liners that just caught on to pop culture
Let off some steam, Bennett.
that I don't know if anyone can touch that.
Dylan! You son of a bitch. What's the matter? The CIA got you pushing too many pencils?
You know, it's funny because my favourite Arnie movie is probably Pumping Iron, which isn't really a movie. It was a mockumentary, really not a documentary. Because it was very
Milk
much
is for
led.
babies.
Milk is for babies. When you grow up, you have to drink beer.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Milk is for babies. And then when he says about how will you go when he's in Pretoria in South Africa for the Mr. Olympia, and he says when he goes about Frank, he goes, I'm his father. I make him, and then about Lou Ferrigno, I wreck him up. I have one night where I'll wreck him up and all this.
Franco is pretty smart, but Franco is a child. And when it comes to the day of the contest, I'm his father. He comes to me for advices.
All stuff that if you're not into Arnie, it would all be the cliched, I'll be back, all the stuff of Terminator, everything like that. But I just love stuff in Pumping Iron because it's so synonymous with his one-liners. And you're right, he's probably got 20 lines that people know pretty much. And that might be a stretch, but probably about half a dozen to 20 lines that you would go, that's Arnie. It's like you say, I'll be back is the one over anything and Get to the Chopper. They're the two main ones, without a doubt.
I'll be back. Get to the chopper!
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, should we get into the second part here? I'm excited for this.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we'll take the second part of the minute from about second 34 till the end. As soon as the Predator fully decloaks, we see his shoulder cannon aim upwards and fire into the jungle, and that first shot blows up right behind Dutch. He gets showered in sparks. The Predator continues to fire his cannon over and over upward into the trees, mostly in Dutch's vicinity, firing a total of 8 shots before the minute comes to an end. And I have to say, just on a personal note, this is one of my favorite scenes or sequences in this film. I think that when we get that wide shot and the kind of slow motion of all the sparks showering down as the Predator is standing on that log in silhouette, that's got to be one of my favorite shots in all of 80s action cinema. It's just so cool and so cinematic. And you can imagine being Dutch stuck in that jungle, just watching in awe of this creature that is clearly he's clearly outmatched in this particular moment.
So, Gus, you're free to take it away if you like.
Go on, Chris.
I'm sniggering. I've had to turn my mic off laughing. I've just rewatched it as you're explaining it really well. Is 39 seconds in, we're talking about like dick measuring and people like falling off a cliff and that. The cannon looks like a fucking dildo on his shoulder. If you look at it again, a very well endowed dildo, but it does look like one. And when he fires it up,
Gosh, you're right.
Sorry, it does. I'm sorry. They were obviously trying any sort of prop they could use. But genuinely, the one thing I would say, if I was doing Chris being a bit of an arse, is why would them trees light up as if it's hit metal? It looks like he's got a welding kit, an 18 welding kit. There's no way them sparks would be coming down like that. That doesn't make physics-wise, science-wise sense. However, I agree, completely iconic, absolutely fantastic. But I said before, and I shot me load a bit early, I'm sorry about the way this has gone, guys. There's some proper like childish jokes in there going on. But Arnie just doesn't even flinch. When he fires that first shot, he just sort of looks over his shoulders to say, is that all you got? You know, and it carries on. And that whole thing where the jungle lights up is amazing. It's definitely an 80s iconic moment. I totally agree. But yeah, just watching it then, I was sniggering like a little kid and I kept replaying it and I was like, oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it looks like something you get in a sex shop. But yeah, other than that, fantastic.
No, you're right. I mean, that's his counter to the limp arrow, right? He pops that thing out fully erect and just fires away. He doesn't have any end to his shots.
Get
like he's having
this.
If you watch the way it rains down on Arnie, though, he's almost like he's having a bukkake party with him. But anyway,
Chris, dude.
I think that's the name of today's episode.
Our download numbers are going to fly through the roof. Yeah.
No more. I promise you, no more.
And just piggybacking on my talking about this cinematic wonder of this sequence. If you pause the video, I think it's about second 54 of this minute. It's a really wide shot, beautifully lit. The fires below, the predator standing on the log, and you see the explosion happening up in the tree. It's just, we get a whole bunch of really cool shots through this sequence, and I just wanted to highlight that one.
I've got it on now. It looks amazing. It does. Yeah. It looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Good.
Really fun way to start off this confrontation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it mirrors the scene where the team is firing all their weapons, including Old Painless, into the jungle and hitting nothing.
We hit nothing.
We hit nothing.
But I was thinking about this earlier today, and not only does it mirror that, it mirrors way back when Jim Hopper's team is taken out by the Predator. We don't see it, but Billy describes the scene as the team firing in all directions.
Yeah.
What happened here, Billy?
Strange, Major. There was a firefight. They were shooting in all directions.
And yet still being killed. So this is just like turning the tables 180 degrees to where the Predator is just firing willy-nilly into different parts of the jungle, hoping to hit Dutch. Maybe I'll come across a little Dutch blood and say, well, if he bleeds, we can kill him.
That's interesting. I've never really thought about it that way. You know, it kind of mirrors that initial interaction, because I was just more thinking that it flipped for me, because it's like Dutch had one Hail Mary and he had to hit the Predator with that arrow. He came up short. He was a little bit caught by stage fright. It was a bit limp and didn't really do the job. And so, and now the Predator is just unleashing all kinds of hell. And how he's still in that tree is beyond me, to be quite honest. But he's lighting the whole place up. He's lighting the whole jungle up like it's a massive bloody Christmas tree. Mm-hmm. And for me, when I'm watching this for the first time, I'm thinking, oh, shit. I thought Arnie had this. I thought this was the moment when he was going to kick ass, but no, the Predator is just got him massively outgunned, and sorry, mate, but you're fucked. And obviously it doesn't quite play out like that, but no, it sort of flipped. I thought it was going to be that, set-up montage. He's got himself all muddied up, and that would be it. He would just hunt down the Predator, and that would be game over. But no, we get this little twist, and, obviously you're watching it with hindsight now, but again, I feel in the pit of my stomach, that now it's flipping again, and you can sort of have that sense, how it feels Dutch in that tree, where he's feeling like, ah, shit, I fucked it.
Like there's a reason we don't take primitive weapons up against advanced technology.
Yeah. Maybe I should have brought the machine gun.
Yeah, I mean, the Predator is really just showing off here, right? Like, I don't think he's even really trying to hit Dutch, except for maybe that first shot. I think he's just lighting up the jungle, just showing off his weapons, and it seems like pure intimidation to me.
Could be.
Yeah.
Was it Troy? Was it the movie Troy? Where was it? Am I thinking Game of Thrones, where the lead champion kind of comes down and he's like, he just pisses all in front of. No, it's Game of Thrones, isn't it? Where he pisses in front of the Khaleesi. You thinking it's a bit like that, where it's just like Predator's just like pissing all over the jungle. He's like, look at the size of this.
That's my tree. That's my tree.
Yeah.
That's also my tree. You're showered in sparks now.
Yeah.
I've got to say,
Chris's point.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm really, really sorry that I've dragged it down to this infantile level, but I had to go with it. It just really made me chuckle. So I'm sorry. It's the railroad podcast. Carry on. I'll try and be a bit more sensible.
It was
For 30 seconds.
It's really on brand for me. So
Nice.
John, I was going to ask you about the score here. You are the expert of the tracks on the score. Tracks. What are we hearing in this minute?
Thank you. Gosh, I'll have to look up the proper name of this track right here, but we've heard this driving piece of the score before, this da-na-na-na, every time the Predator is chasing the team, whether it was Hawkins and Anna, or it was Dutch right before Dutch goes off the 100-foot waterfall, this da-na-na-na, this kind of driving score. It's just an interesting choice for sure. Like, there could be a lot of choices musically here, but it's interesting that it's like this reverting back to the chase sequence again. I guess in a way it's kind of like a chase of trying to find his prey. Yeah, it just stood out to me as making a note of it because it matches those other pieces, and I'm not really sure why Alan Silvestri chose that.
Yeah, well, we are kind of hitting the cat and mouse portion of the film, right? So perhaps that was the thinking there. But it's great. As we've seen in this whole film, the score really does drive the emotion of the scenes, and once again, that's happening here. It's really effective. All right, well, do we have anything else to add for this section before we start to close things out?
No, I think I've totally derailroaded the podcast. I'm just sitting on very quiet now.
No, I mean, you've touched on it plenty of times in the previous minutes, but the score is absolutely brilliant. I quite often, and I'll go back to put this score on. I think, there's so many great scores around this time, distinctive scores, the Predator, the Terminator. I just love them. And so, as soon as we didn't get the iconic kind of that you have in your theme tune, but I just love it. Every time I hear it, I just never get bored of it. It's like the Friends theme for me. Never get bored of it. So as soon as it comes on, it just invokes that reaction, that emotion of like, oh, shit's going to get real in a minute.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Friends or Predator?
Well, both.
We were on a break.
Yeah.
We were on a break.
More so Predator, but it can work the other way as well.
Yeah. Close-knit group of friends. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and this is Chris's guy. This is Silvestri. He does all the Avengers scores.
Oh yeah, good man.
Yeah,
good man.
I love those Avengers movies.
You know what? I just literally watched Avengers Endgame last night as well. Completely unrelated to this, obviously, and I think when 2012 that first Avengers movie came out, and I think everyone was like, yeah, it's a good movie, but the score is kind of okay. And there's something about Silvestri tracks that they don't immediately grab you. Like the first time you hear them, they don't grab you, but it just gnaws away at you and it grows on you. And honestly, last night, watching Endgame, I was a blubbering mess. And most of that is down to the score, I think. What's going on the screen is obviously emotional as well, but I think a lot of the time what you feel is driven by the score. And I often say, with the greatest crime that any composer can commit for me in a movie like this is you just don't even notice the score, or you don't feel any emotions, and you certainly do in Predator. And above everything else, above Arnie's iconic one-liners, and obviously this is the most fucking masculine movie that's ever been, isn't there? The handshake. Is there a more manly moment than that?
Dylan! You son of a bitch.
Nope.
I don't think so. So I just think, absolutely, Silvestri, he's an A-lister for me. I think he's done some great stuff.
Yeah, to your point, Dave, the movie has been dialogue-free basically since they get to the Choppa line. After that, we have He Couldn't See Me, and that was it. Like, that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 minutes in a row, no dialogue, all score and sound effects. And so I too appreciate Silvestri's work here. John McTiernan is a huge fan of the silent movie era and foreign films, especially foreign films that can convey the whole message of the movie without you having to know exactly what the characters are saying. If they can show that, if you can hear that in the score and see it in the cinematography, then he believes the director is doing a wonderful job. And I think he's doing a great job here in this third act.
Yeah, I mean, almost the entire rest of this movie is going to be dialogue free. I mean, we're going to get the ugly motherfucker line, but is that it?
It's bad idea when he hits the Predator with the log and
bad idea.
Predator breaks it. And then you have Kevin Peter Hall's character as the helicopter pilot saying something like, what the hell? When he sees the big explosion in the distance. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, and crazy. What the hell are you? What?
I mean, how many movies out there have the entire last half hour of it be almost dialogue free? You know, that's pretty wild.
Yeah. Final act. I can't think of one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a perfect marriage, isn't it? You know, you got your Arnie one-liners and a silent movie and a great score. It's a perfect marriage.
Yeah. Perfect marriage.
All right. Well, I think we've done this minute justice. What do we think, John? Is it time to move on to weekly recommends?
Yeah, I think it's time to move on to weekly recommends. So every week we have some recommendations for the listeners at home, whether that's a movie, a book, a specific shoe, a food you tried, a bird you saw at the window. It could be just about anything you guys that tickles your fancies. So you guys being the guests, why don't you all start off? What do you have to recommend?
Well, Chris, I guess we've just done. We talked about Chuck, didn't we? Beforehand, I'll leave that to you. So, what I'm going to recommend is I'm a bit of a comic geek, so I'm going to recommend something here. So, actually, Dark Horse did a load of not only Predator but Alien and Terminator books as well, and Disney have just actually, in the last week acquired the rights to do Alien and Predator movies. Obviously they'd bought out 20th Century Fox, so it was about to happen at some point, but Marvel are going to produce some of these comics. I don't think we're going to see Captain America fighting the Predator or anything like that anytime soon, but they're certainly going to produce some of these new storylines. But some of the older books are fantastic, and I would go back to some of those early comic books and sort of explore some of those. It really expands on that world, because in movies you only get a very short amount of time to tell a little bit of a story, and so you get a bit more of this explored in the kind of background. Obviously in Predator 2, that's when we first saw Alien. We had an alien skull mounted on the wall when Danny Glover was in the spaceship there, but they explore a bit more of that in the Dark Horse comics. So I would say certainly if you've got like Amazon Unlimited or something like that, go and get some of those cheap kind of digital comics and have a read of those.
Wow, awesome. Great tie-in there. I remember as a kid reading through the original graphic novel of the first 4 issues of Predator with the Concrete Jungle storyline, and just it was such a cool read, and it was just so intense. It was my first graphic novel, and just I remember even like being scared to like walk in the woods because of this movie and because of that graphic novel. Like it was kind of like the woods equivalent of Jaws for me. Like
Awesome.
So me,
that's you.
Is the floor open to any suggestions? I mean, I can obviously we've talked and took the mick out of Mr. Chuck Norris, but we have got Mission in Action 2 coming available this week on our VHS Strikes Back feed. But one of the things we are going to be reviewing, and it's just come on Netflix, supposed to be quite a good film, is one with Charlie Theron called Old Guard. which Dave has put us onto. It's based on a comic. It's literally just come out over the weekend, so I've not had a chance to watch it, but it's been reviewed pretty well on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes and everything. And if, guys, and this is a big if, we do have a podcast called the CD Reality Cast. Chris and Dave's Reality Cast. The final of a show that was from the US is on this week, and it's called Labour of Love. And we review this, and basically in episode 1 they had 15 guys all meet up and they're vying for this woman who wants to have a baby. So they get the 15 guys to go in little medical huts outside this mansion and give a sample to make sure they've got enough sperm to impregnate her. And from there it has gone downhill rapidly. Kristen Davis is the host of Sex in the City, and it's an absolute bag of shit. And we're on episode 8, but the final is available on Thursday over in the US, and we'll be reviewing it on Friday. So, a travesty of a series, but we just can't stop watching it because it's utterly fake and stupid. But it's supposed to be real that she wants to be impregnated by one of these guys. It's nonsense. But yeah, anyway, just to bring it down even more to my level.
You guys
Sorry,
even aware of this thing that is happening on your shores?
What's it called?
It's
Labour
called
of
Labour
Love.
of Love.
No.
I have not heard of it. No.
It's like Bachelor, only you don't get married at the end; you get knocked up.
Yeah.
Is it on Netflix or one of these services?
No, it'd be on one of the. I think it's probably going to be on one of the. I don't know. It's Fox, I think. I think it's on Fox.
Yeah. The Fox sounds about
Fox?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Fox. It's genuinely, we're reviewing it, and it's utterly shit. But
Wow.
yeah,
It is Fox.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So you've gone from one good suggestion by me to one down in the gutter, guys. Again, I'm sorry, but you don't have to watch the other 8 episodes if you don't want. The other 7 episodes if you don't want. I'd suggest you probably don't. But the final is this week. So whether we get a catch-up episode and she's 6 months pregnant, I'm not sure, or I don't know how that's going to work. But yeah, she does pick one of them to become the father of a child. So yeah, bizarre.
Wow. Highbrow.
You weren't expecting that one, were you guys? You stumped them there, Chris.
Don't worry, guys. We're definitely going to have you on the VHS Strikes Back without a doubt. So you can come on and just run roughshod over that and say anything you want.
We should do
Hey, you guys are
I love it.
We should.
Over it for sure.
Yeah, we should do Predator 2, shouldn't we? Dave's right. Yeah. We should do it all.
Unless, what are you guys... Genuine question. So what are you guys going to do? So you're on 89th minute now. You're coming towards the end, the climax. What happens after when you finish this movie?
What do you think, John?
Whenever people ask us this, usually we give 2 different answers. Usually it's Jeff saying, I don't know, like, my time is so valuable. And usually it's me saying, maybe Predator 2?
Yeah.
I think if we kept going, it would probably be Predator 2. This has been a really amazing, fun project to be a part of. It's really John's brainchild. I just show up and make dick and fart jokes, but it is also. I mean, I don't even do any of the editing or publishing or anything. John does all of that, and it is a time-consuming project. I can't imagine how much time you spend on it, John. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where I could see us keep going, but. Who knows? It's funny. We haven't really formally talked about it, have we?
No. We kind of bring it up like off the cuff, and it's like, we'll talk about it when we get there. so we don't. Yeah, good question. Good question.
Well, what we should do is we'll get you on to the VHS Strikes Back for something completely different. So the main kind of essence. So Chris and I, we started off Comics in Motion, and we were kind of rigid about like wanting to constrain the scope, and it was like we'll cover this stuff and we'll cover this stuff, but that's outside the scope. And then we started the VHS one. It was just a passion project. It's just to be something that just movies that we loved when we were growing up. That was it. That was the scope. So anything, and what it's evolved to be, we started off with like Back to the Future, and we've covered Ghostbusters and Indiana Jones, things like that. So we've covered the big blockbusters. But then at some point it's evolved to being like, you know, we just try and stitch each other up. So some things that I loved as a kid,
I love it.
Obviously Chris will hate, and I know, and a film you probably won't have ever heard of. It's a bit of a sword and sorcery thing from 1980, an old British movie called Hawk the Slayer. Chris absolutely hates all that sword and sorcery nonsense, even Conan the Barbarian. So the week before, he'd stitched me up with a 1976 Roger Corman movie called Eat My Dust, starring Ron Howard.
And he's on Prime, by the way. He's on Prime.
Those shit fucking, car movies. So he stitched me up with that, and so I have to one-up him then, and I think, right, I'm going to get you fucker. Hawk the Slayer it is. And so we make each other watch these terrible movies, or movies that we love, but we know they're terrible. And so I'm not saying you need to come on and give us a terrible movie, but it's just, it went away from, we haven't covered E.T., we've not even done Back to the Future 3, we've not done so many of the great iconic movies from like the 80s and 90s, but we've done like fucking No Retreat, No Surrender 3, you know, with Jean-Claude
Not the whole trilogy.
The whole trilogy, yeah. Van Damme was in the first one, wasn't he? So it's just,
guys, that's a brilliant idea. I think it's more fun to do those kinds of movies.
Absolutely. So if you have any of those movies that you love from your childhood, just we'll communicate on email. We'll get you on. And
do you guys
if we hate them or not?
Do you guys publish those shows through your Comics in Motion feed, or is it its own separate?
It's a separate RSS feed. Yeah.
It's a separate one. But what I would say is, like, in the space of like 30 episodes, we've done about 50 odd episodes of this one, and it comes out weekly. But I think, literally, in the first 30 episodes, we've never covered the Back to the Future trilogy, the Godfather trilogy, but we've done No Retreat, No Surrender 1, 2, and 3 as 3 separate shows, and then some of the shittest martial arts movies you've ever seen.
Excuse me, fucking best martial arts. See, the problem is,
doesn't Jean-Claude Van Damme play the bad guy in the
first one? He does. Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
But the thing is that we discovered about ourselves, we had no idea before we started this, but we said, you know, when it all started off, it's like, you like martial arts movies, I like martial arts movies, we'll cover some of those as well. What we didn't realise is that I like some of the kind of 70s Hong Kong, you know, badly dubbed sort of Chinese cinema movies, whereas Chris, you're more into the kind of the American Ninja, King of the Kickboxers, Best of the Best, you know, all of that stuff. And I'm trying to palm this stuff off on Chris, and he absolutely fucking hates it. But for me, I'm loving it. And so part of the fun for us is, you know, when it's almost like you've got one person defending and one person like, what the fuck is this shit? You know, it's just, yeah. I think it's fair to say, Chris, isn't it? You know, we love all of the podcasts that we do, but this one, for just pure joy, it's probably our favourite, isn't it?
And I know we've segued up, but the last thing I'm going to say, guys, is the pure joy I get is when we were watching Eat My Dust, which is available on Amazon Prime, so you can watch it to your heart's content. I don't know if you'd have to take a lot of alcohol when you watch it. He's fucking terrible. I mean, Ron Howard was in full Richie Cunningham at this point. He was in Happy Days. He was at the high peak of his powers. However, it's when I know the film's absolute shit, karate movie, whatever it is, and Dave then texts me. And once I know he's watching it, I have 90 minutes looking at the clock, smiling to myself. I am texting him going, what bit are you up to, mate? And he's like, fuck off, this is shit. And I know he's got to watch it. And that is where I get the most enjoyment. And everyone who listens says that. They say, what fucking movie are you going to stitch each other up? But Dave said it was supposed to be blockbusters. It was supposed to be like The Godfather, E.T., all these iconic movies you all loved as kids, and it's like fucking no. I've got like Invasion USA, Chuck Norris to come yet. I've got King of the Kickboxers 1 and 2. I've got Angel Town I found now, which is a terrible 1991 karate film that I've been looking for years because it is so bad. I've got all sorts up my sleeve for Dave. I can't wait, honestly.
Have you guys done Ninja 3: The Domination?
Oh no, but we are now.
Not yet.
Shit. That movie is brilliantly bonkers. I love it so much.
Oh, you'll have to come and do that one. You've got to come and do it now. You said it. Dave's going to hate it.
Dave's going to hate it. It makes no sense. It makes no sense, but it's so much fun.
You know what? I'll just throw out a few others. So, I mean, we have done, again, Chris has just mentioned some of the ones we haven't done. We have covered Jim Carter.
Yes.
We have covered Sylvester Stallone's Over the Top.
Yeah.
What film?
We have covered the 1979 Snake in the Monkey's Shadow. Favourite of Quentin Tarantino, I must say. So yeah, we've covered some absolute fucking turkeys, haven't we, Chris?
That's what it's all about. And then, guys, just I will show. And then what makes it worse is I avoided Hellraiser my whole life because I was petrified of that front cover. I hate horror movies. And then when we reviewed it, all it was a fucking English soft fucking porn fluffer music film. Yeah. That's all it was. Fucking the brother who was alive was fluffing up for the fucking weirdo one who was dead. It was terrible. Fucking awful movie. I'd avoided that so much. It was not what I expected.
With the fluffing. The last fucking 2 weeks. Right, guys, we did fucking Dark Knight Rises last week, and he just said Batman in Justice League, Batman was basically a fluffer for Superman. For fuck's sake. I don't need that image.
He is though. He's Batfleck's fucking rubbish. But anyway, sorry.
Just got an image of Batman going, "Drop your pants."
Where is he?
Dark Knight is about to rise.
Oh, Mr. Wade.
Yes. He's been fucking practicing. Now that's better than when he was on the show.
Sorry, guys. So recommendations. So somewhere in there was some recommendations.
Oh yeah, that's right. We were doing recommends.
Oh, I love the band. Oh, you adopted the fluffing.
I was born into it.
Oh, you stepped on my recommend. I was literally going to recommend your guys' recent review of The Dark Knight Rises. I just love how you're going at odds during the review. It was so fun, along with just the unrestrained. You're like, F it, we're just going to do Bane impressions the whole time. Normally we limit these things. Just go for it.
I think I got one good one at the end. Oh, mine sounds terrible. I said one of them sounds like fucking Dr. Evil of Powers. He goes, £1 million. It's like nothing like Bane. And he had a cup there with trying to talk into the cup.
That's the key with Bane. You got to talk into the cup, but
yeah, the cup.
You know, when we did the Dark Knight, right, about 6-7 months ago, I was sat in my garden with a mug and an app I'd bought off Apple iTunes, a Bane impressions one, trying to do the impressions, and I was trying to record them. So when we did them, I was going to play the recording, and today thought it was me. And my wife come out and went, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I was there reciting these lines in the garden, and it sounded nothing like him. It sounded like fucking C-3PO. It just sounded nothing like Bane. It's terrible.
No, Dave has a really good impression. I really like his too. Yeah.
He do.
Yeah, into the cup. That's a good tip, Dave.
Nice.
Yeah, but can you do the Bale? You've got to do the Bale Batman boy.
Like, I think my favorite of that is where Catwoman leaves, she jumps off the roof, and he's by himself, and he's still talking to himself in the voice. He's like, "So that's what it feels like." You're by yourself. Who's that for?
I never noticed that. You're right.
So I actually, so someone came back to us on this. And a lot of the guys who produce shows for Comics in Motion, they've got strong ties to DC Comics News as well, and so all really into that kind of world. And we're kind of more promiscuous with our comic book, affiliations. Actually, Chris, you're probably a little bit more on the DC side, aren't you? A bit more Superman, Batman. I'm probably more. I lean more to the Marvel side, but we're in and around the middle. But I did get an explanation, and that was like Bruce Wayne is the kind of alter ego, and so he identifies himself more as Batman. So even if he's on his own, he's Batman. That was what I was told. I'm not sure I buy it, but because again, I still think, Chris, you say Kristen Bell's the best Batman, don't you? I still respectfully disagree, but I think that Nolan trilogy is fantastic, apart from the voice. It's just ridiculous for me. So it goes way above and beyond any kind of normal thing.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I was going to recommend a horror movie I saw recently, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and recommend Ninja 3: The Domination.
We're going to end up doing that shit. Yeah.
I'd like
you throwing me under the bus.
I'd like to read you the first sentence of the plot summary on Wikipedia here. Christy Ryder, a telephone line woman and aerobics instructor, is possessed by the evil spirit of a fallen ninja warrior, Hanjuro, when coming to his aid. The spirit uses her body to carry out his revenge on the police officers who killed him.
Oh, yes. Yeah. This is it. This is the one.
Jeff, you got fucking... You can't be throwing that shit out, and you're going to have to fucking come on and do it with us. So you can't just throw shit out like that, and then we do it on our own.
What about poor John? He's got no choice. He's going to have to watch it.
Yeah, no, he has to watch it. This movie opens up with a 20-minute action sequence on a golf course of a ninja.
Oh, yes.
Just fucking killing like tens upon tens of people indiscriminately. It's really great. None of it makes much sense in terms of plot, but you just watch
Chris's sort of movie.
Yeah.
I'm on it. I am on that. Dave, get the diary out after this and get this sorted.
We will.
It's a date. It's a date.
Nice.
I'm bringing impressions over. I'll have nothing to do with the episode. We'll just have a Bane off when we're in there. Put it to the public vote.
I'm all up for it if you are, but I think we kind of shuffled through our recommendations. Guys, where can we hear more of you on the regular?
On Twitter, if you want to contact us or follow us at Comics in Motion P, it's the Comics in Motion podcast on all podcast catching apps, and we're available everywhere. Obviously, we've said about the VHS Strikes Back, and you guys are going to do this homework, labour of love this week, and work out which reality person's going to impregnate this woman as well. So that's on our Chris and Dave's Reality Cast podcast as well. So we're everywhere, unfortunately.
Did you guys say you have a Patreon? Did I hear that right earlier?
Yeah, so at the moment, we're trying to build up the Comics in Motion podcast. So we're trying to get out daily content for that. At the minute, all of that is free. And we're hoping to grow the audience, and we'll figure out something with advertising. For the VHS Strikes Back, we do have a Patreon as well. So patreon.com/VHS Strikes Back. We do have some people on there, and you got various different levels, so right from £1 or roughly $1 at the minute, which is just supporting the show, and then you go through the different levels. You get executive producer, where we'll call you out. You go up to producer, where you can choose a show for us to review. and right up to the McFly, which I think we mentioned pre-show, didn't we? Which is about £10,000, which is, you'll fly me and Chris and yourself out to Las Vegas, and we'll record from there. And by God, we are still going to keep plugging that, because you never know that there might be some sugar daddy of some sort that is going to do that. So we might have someone who stumbles across our podcast who has just got more money than sense and fancies, flying us out. We'll review what fucking ever you want to review. I will even do King of the Kickboxers 2, and we'll review that one and then record it live from Vegas.
Oh man, I'm scrolling through your VHS Strikes Back feed right now, and you guys have done some amazing films here. I can't wait to get to these. One of my favorite horror movies, From Dusk Till Dawn, is on there.
Oh, I love it.
I love that movie. Yeah.
It's
So
a classic.
anyone out there, check that out. I just found a whole string of podcasts to binge, so that's awesome. I can't wait.
Nice.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on, you guys. This has been a real treat, and it was really, really fun for us. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Honestly, thank you so much, guys. We've wanted to come on for ages, and I'll tell you what, it's been such a fucking laugh. Pardon, I know I swear a lot, but genuinely, I have had so much fun. We definitely have to do this again. And when you bring out Predator 2 in Danny Glover's sweat patches, I am on for that minute. So get me on. Okay.
Too old for this shit.
I'm too old for this shit.
Take him a stop with him.
I could do a whole episode on his pleated khakis in that movie.
Yeah. He's sweaty ass in them pants, It's rather hot.
Yeah. And
no, it's been brilliant, guys. Thanks ever so much for having us on.
Yeah. So, just appreciate the heck out of you guys coming on. It's funny because I'm such a fanboy of your podcast. It's funny to have you guys on and just joke around like some of the guys. So it's been just a blast. Thank you so much.
No problem. It's weird, isn't it? Because listen to you guys as well, and it's weird when you connect as podcasters, because sometimes you sort of switch off because you're listening to the person that you've been listening to for ages, and you realize I'm actually speaking to them. I'm not just listening to the podcast. So,
Right.
No, it's been so much fun, guys. Really enjoyed it. Absolutely loved it.
All right. So, Jeff, where can people find you?
Oh, no one cares about me, but I'm on the Twitter. You can find me there. Carl_Hungus 314. Come follow me on Twitter.
My name is Carl. Ich bin expert.
John, where can we find all things Predator Minute?
Oh, the Predator Minute.
Nice.
on
Predator Minute.
Twitter. At Predator Minute. At Twitter. You can email the show predatorminute@gmail.com, or you can always join the Facebook discussion group, the Predator Minute Listeners Palapa. Target the center of the Palapa.
Target the center of the Palapa.
Target's the center of the palapa.
Target the center of the Palapa. All right.
You're going to go around your house now all night doing that.
Yeah,
I mean, my backyard practically.
Get ready for the Bane off. We're doing the Bane off. I won't forget.
Forget Ninja 3. Let's just bang it off. Yeah. All right. So for all things Predator Minute 89, I've been John Zabriskie.
And I am Jeff Glover.
I'm Dave Horrocks.
And I'm Chris Phelps.
And until next time,
Stick around.
Stick around.
stick around.
Stick around.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, and then we'll do the normal, promote your podcast network now, it seems like, at the end, of course.
Yeah, we've got that many, right?
Yeah, no, it's just really impressive how you guys have really expanded Comics in Motion since, I think February is when you started expanding?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, before we get into it all, I mean, I think we initially connected, didn't we, through Comics in Motion, but I think, to be honest, our passion project is the VHS Strikes Back project. I don't know if you guys have heard that at all, but that kind of spun out of the Comics in Motion podcast because, again, I'm assuming you guys are in and around the same age as us. And when we talked about the old movies, it was clear we just had an absolute passion for it. And there was less preparation work. There was more passion. There was just everything a little bit more. And so we've treated Comics in Motion more as a kind of pet project. So we've got almost a daily show at the moment.
Yeah.
We brought in all these other different creators. And this was kind of, we've got so many we're podcast junkies, to be quite honest. So we saw from a different podcast, which was based on a reality show called Love Island, which is, I'll blame Chris for that. But we noticed that if we put out daily podcasts, we were always in the iTunes charts. Just by pushing out that regular content. And we thought, well, you can't do that for a movie or something like that. You just cannot do it. The amount of prep, the amount of editing and everything. But if you had other creators, but in order to do that, the creators kind of have to own it as well. They have to have it as a passion project as well. And so we've got such a great group of guys, and they're pushing out these different shows at the minute. So, I mean, I don't want to get all socialist, but kind of Comics in Motion now is a bit of a socialist network, where it's not actually just me and Chris. There's loads of different guys, and we've got different links to other people as well. But I mean, to be honest, the VHS Strikes Back is where we go back and we do our terrible Arnie impressions, and we indulge in a bit of Sylvester Stallone as well. We've done a bit of Jean-Claude Van Damme. Coming out this week, we've got Chuck Norris. That's our first Chuck Norris movie, and to be honest, it's fucking horrendous. But everyone seems to love him, but it's terrible.
Which movie did you do?
We did Missing in Action 2. The whole rat in a bag scene. We had to do that one. So,
and it's a dead rat, wasn't it? A real rat.
A real rat, but it's fucking terrible. The whole movie, and everyone loves it, but we don't get it. So
we slate
versus just a statue. That guy has no emotion in anything he does.
Oh, he's terrible, isn't he? Honestly, guys, with no irony at all. I mean, is it just the whole Chuck Norris thing? Chuck Norris, met coronavirus, and then coronavirus had to isolate for 14 days. So is that? Does everyone do that in irony? Because I can't tell if they're serious or not.
I'm imagining it's ironic.
I think
it's got to be.
He's the most unlikely action hero. Like,
he's terrible.
He's good at martial arts, but he's a horrible actor. He's got no charisma. He's such a statue on screen. I don't understand it.
But even his martial arts, right? I can believe that he can kick the arse of Jean-Claude Van Damme and Bruce Lee and all of those, because he's actually been there in the ring. But he just looks so terrible on screen. It's one of those, I just don't get it. So, guys, you put my mind at rest, because we were struggling, weren't we, last week, Chris? Because we were like, this is shit. He can't act. The fight scenes are terrible. Missing in Action 2 goes about an hour of him just being tortured before anything happens. It's terrible.
I think I think it's the Missing in Action movies. I might have this wrong, but was that a canon movie?
Oh yeah, it was canon. Yep.
I think Missing in Action 2 was actually filmed first and was supposed to be the first.
That's right.
Movie.
But it was terrible.
Yeah, so they made another
one. Want the better one first, just to suck in. Yeah,
they're just like, fuck it, switch the order. Who gives a shit?
Yeah. We'll release the second one as a prequel because it's shit.
It's so funny.
So, I mean, they sucked us all in. It's not like a Back to the Future 2 and 3 where the Matrix. I mean, I know they were shit reloaded and stuff, but they've just totally done it. But I agree with Dave. I loved Chuck Norris as a kid, but watching him now, it's like he's fucking terrible. He's just awful. The worst bad guy, the worst leading man ever, and he's just a poor man's John Rambo. I mean, James Braddock. They couldn't get it any closer, I think.
No, he's not dead. He's not dead. It's terrible.
And the whole pretense of the movie is the fact that he won't admit to his war crimes, like this random colonel in the middle of the fucking Vietnamese jungle. He's going to make a difference, and he won't admit it, so his whole crew just get decimated and killed one by one because he's been a stubborn bastard.
Chris, but what about when the guy Yin, he's saying, like, your wife is about to get remarried. Well, I hope she's happy.
you know. Sorry, I know we've gone on a segue, but I'll tell you what. The Yin, the guy who runs the thingy guys, he runs like this concentration camp. He somehow intercepts James Braddock's wife's letter to him. So she's obviously sent a letter, care of the Vietnamese jungle, because how he's found this fucking letter through the mail, I do not know. And then subsequently burns it in front of him. And I was like, how is that even fucking possible? How have you got these? You can intercept this letter. It's fucking terrible. It really is.
Jungle.
So guys,
sorry,
obviously,
we've railroaded that, haven't we? Sorry.
you can probably tell that we just love talking about this stuff. So honestly, if we start to go on from the tangent, just fucking tell us to shut up, and we'll get back on target.
We use Predator as a backbone for the show, but John and I will go off on whatever at any given moment. So don't worry about that.
Let's do it. Okay, nice one.
Yeah, I noticed. I'm looking at the Wikipedia. It says missing in action 2, the beginning. It's like, why not just make that the first one?
I mean, the way they kind of promote it is, we realised that the second one was so much better than the first one. No, the second one was just shit. And then you just decided you need to loop people in on the first one. Oh, dear.